Hey everyone, time for another beginner's guide. In this video, I'm going to be talking about what there is to do in Tamriel. Now for a new player, the open world of ESO can be a little intimidating, so I'm here to help ease that and set you on an adventurous path. The video is split into two parts, the first being about exploration and the other about group content, so let's dive into exploring what ESO offers to players in regards to exploration. The Elder Scrolls Online is set in the land of Tamriel. Within Tamriel, there are multiple areas you can visit to explore. We call them zones. These zones are home to a multitude of activities for all kinds of players and are fairly large in size. No two zones are the same. You may find some similarities in architecture or land design, but that's due to the zones being in close proximity to each other, and therefore being in the same part of Tamriel. Like Morrowind, for example. Within the base game of Tamriel, you can explore two zones within Morrowind, Stonefalls and Deshaan. They have similarities due to both of them homing the Dark Elves, but they differ in what they offer the player. Any of these zones are accessible at any point in time. They aren't level specific and not blocked behind quests. You can visit any zone you want at any point in time with no worries to be had. If you want to visit Skyrim the moment you turn level 10, then go for it. If you want to visit High Rock almost immediately after creating your character, then nothing will stop you. The world is your oyster. When exploring a zone of your choice, you will come across lots of locations. Some involve combat, others may require just admiring or talking to an NPC. This is a very basic key. Your map and compass will pick up these icons the closer you get to them. Trial and group dungeon I'll talk about later, so let's start with World Boss. As you get close to a world boss, you'll notice the skull icon appear on your compass. World bosses are difficult and challenging enemies that roam a small area within a zone. Each zone will contain 5 to 6 world bosses. Once you find and locate them, then you can try fighting them, but be warned, these enemies are tough. You may need to recruit some friends for them, or practice and practice again to defeat it on your own. Let's take a look at what a delve is. Now when I first started playing, I actually thought that the icon for a delve looked like a paintbrush. That was until I realised it's a torch. But anyway, a delve is a small, easy to navigate dungeon. It could be in the form of a cave, a ruin, a castle, or something else entirely. Once inside, you'll have some very basic enemies to fight, along with a final boss. This boss is nowhere near as hard as one of those world bosses, so don't worry, you won't need any help with these bosses in delves. Each delve has a little story to accompany, usually about its history, how it became to be abandoned or filled with so many evil creatures. If you love role-playing or perhaps just the Elder Scrolls lore, then definitely keep an eye out for books and quests in these delves. Every delve will have a sky shard hidden somewhere. I'll get into those in just a moment. And delves will sometimes have a quest. Not always, but some delves do. So now onto the icon that looks like an eye, this being a striking locale. As I said earlier, there will be some activities in zones that require you to literally do nothing but admire where you are, or maybe even just speaking to an NPC. Striking locales are areas within zones that usually have some lore linked to them or are just cool looking areas. And that's it. Once you've discovered the locale, then you can move on. Nothing else to see or do. So I've mentioned this word a couple of times now. Quests. Every zone in Tamriel has been rammed with quests, some longer than others and some more in depth than others. One quest could be helping a drunk Nord get his pants back, whereas another could be saving an entire village from a vampire attack. The icon to signify a quest is an arrow above an NPC. Just like all the other locations we have discussed, you do need to be in relatively close proximity to a quest for it to appear on your compass. Public dungeons are more challenging than your delves that we discussed earlier. These dungeons are filled with grouped enemies and therefore it's easy to be overwhelmed. There are also bosses within these dungeons that are harder than delve bosses, but still not on the same level as the world bosses. Now it's labelled public. This means upon entering a public dungeon, any player at any time can join you, so you may encounter others doing the dungeon at the same time as you. Now in every public dungeon, you will find one quest with a chance of a second, and also a sky shard. Okay, so what is a sky shard? Sky shards are found scattered throughout every zone, found in every delve and public dungeon. It's a crystal that gives off a bright light. Once you have absorbed the power of 3 sky shards, you get a skill point. That's it. Sky shards are just another way of getting skill points other than leveling up. In every zone you'll also find a main city. Within this city you can go about your crafting business or perhaps buying and selling, whatever it is you need to do. Cities are 100% safe. You don't need to worry about being attacked whilst in one. Lastly, I want to talk about dark anchors. To cut a long story short, these activities link to the main story questline of ESO. The Daedric prince Molag Bal intends to invade and take over Nirn, where Tamriel resides. To do this, Molag Bal has created anchors to pull the 2 worlds together, Oblivion and Nirn. It is up to us to stop that from happening. You will find 3 dark anchors per zone, and they can be quite tough, but they do attract a lot of players, so I'm sure you won't be alone. Once you have defeated a good few waves of enemies and closed the dark pinions, you'll face a boss. Once defeated, the anchor will be destroyed. So that's everything I have to say on exploration. To sum it up, every zone in ESO is worth exploring. There is so much to do and so many secrets to be found. So go out there and explore this amazing world and see what it has to offer. Let's talk about group content. If you're playing ESO with friends or have a group of people that you can hook up with, then along with everything I discussed about zones, you can also have the additional activities of trials and group dungeons. Group dungeons are very similar to that of public dungeons, but there are a few differences though. These dungeons are a lot harder and are closed to everyone apart from those in your group. So if someone isn't in your group, they can't join you in this dungeon. Like I said, these dungeons are a lot harder. They require teamwork to overcome the numerous challenges that await. However, if you're patient and experienced, then these group dungeons can actually be done solo. Ironically. Lastly, we have trials. Unlike group dungeons that are capped to 4 players only, trials go up to 12 players. So you can get 12 of your friends together and go tackle a trial. Be warned though, trials are extremely difficult. You really do need to work as a team in order to complete this activity. If a few people decide to go rogue or perhaps not pull their weight, you won't be completing the trial. It's a group effort. The only thing left to discuss for a beginner's point of view is PvP, player versus player content. However, that is what I have planned for the next beginner's guide. So stay tuned for that, where I'll be discussing everything PvP related within ESO. I will leave a link to the previous guide in the description below. In that guide I discussed armour and weapon choices as well as armour sets. If you're enjoying this series and finding it helpful, or even just this specific guide, then don't forget to like and subscribe. It lets me know that you're actually taking something from this, which is a wonderful thing. So stay tuned for the next guide. I'll see you all then.